Now that our Elastic Beanstalk instance has been created, we're going to start to configure Travis CI to automatically deploy our application over to AWS once our tests have successfully passed. So to do so, we're going to add some more configuration to the travis.yaml file that we had created inside of our root project directory. I'm going to open up my code editor, and then inside of here, I'm going to find the travis.yaml file. You'll recall that we currently have the before install and script sections inside of here. And both those are concerned solely with putting together our initial image and then running some tests using that image. I'm going to add in another section towards the bottom of this file called, as you might guess, deploy. So inside this section, we're going to add in a bunch of configuration to tell Travis CI exactly how to take our application and deploy it off to AWS. Now, some of these settings that we're going to put in here are going to be a little bit laborious, so I really got to ask you to watch really closely and make sure that you follow along as closely as possible. Now, the first option we're going to add in here is going to be really easy and straightforward. We're going to say provider is Elastic Beanstalk, all one word like so. Travis CI comes pre-configured to deploy our application to a handful of different providers or hosting providers such as AWS or DigitalOcean or whichever other you can possibly imagine. And so by just saying provider Elastic Beanstalk, we're essentially telling Travis CI that, hey, we want you to use this set of instructions to attempt to automatically deploy our application. So by just specifying that right there, Travis CI is going to really do a lot of stuff for us automatically. Now we're going to still provide a lot of other options in here as well to just provide some further customization. The next one we're going to provide is region. Now region is going to be a little bit of a tough one because the region that you're going to specify depends upon exactly where you originally created your Elastic Beanstalk instance. Let me tell you what I mean by that. If you flip back over to your Elastic Beanstalk dashboard, which should look like this, I want you to look very closely at that URL again. I'm going to copy the URL and I'm going to put it over into my code editor just so you can read mine very easily. So when you created your Elastic Beanstalk instance, you created it in a particular region. And when I say region, I'm talking about like area of the earth or kind of continent essentially. So me personally, I created the region in the Elastic Beanstalk instance in the region US West 2. So right here, you need to specify whatever region your Elastic Beanstalk instance was just created in. You might have something like US East 1, US West 1. You might have a totally different country inside of here. It's going to be up to you to find whichever code it is. And you're going to take that code and put it in as the region wrapped inside of quotes. So I'll say US-West-2. And again, what you put in here is going to be whatever you see right there before the elasticbeanstalk.com. All right, so once we got that in there, we're then going to add in a couple other options. We're going to specify the name of our app. Now, the name of the app is the same name that you had created back over here on the Elastic Beanstalk dashboard. So you see how we have all applications right here? The first word right after that is the name of your app. So I called mine Docker. You might have called yours something like Docker-React. Whatever you have right there, you're going to take it letter for letter and you're going to enter it in as the app right here. And so for me, I'm going to put in simply Docker, like so. The next configuration piece we're going to add in is the environment name. So when we created the application of Docker or Docker React, that's kind of just setting up a common set of configuration. The actual app that's running inside of here, it's not really referred to as an app, but instead is referred to as an environment. And so the environment is going to be the last piece on there. For me, my environment name is docker-env. So you're going to take whatever is listed right there, you're going to copy it, and then we're going to put it right in there for env. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Now, the next piece of configuration here is going to be just a little bit nastier than the two we just went through. We're going to put in a bucket name. So when Travis decides to deploy your code base, it's going to take all of the files inside of your GitHub repository. It's going to zip them all up into one single file, and then it's going to copy all of them over to an S3 bucket, which is essentially a hard drive running on AWS. Once it copies all those files over, Travis CI is then going to essentially poke at Elastic Beanstalk and say, hey, I just uploaded this new zip file. Use that to redeploy your application. So we need to provide the name of the bucket that Travis CI is going to put our zip file into. Now that might sound like it's a little complicated. The good news here is that this has been a S3 bucket that is already automatically generated for you when you initially created the Elastic Beanstalk instance. All we have to do is get the name of it. So to get the name, we're going to go up to Services up here, and then we're going to do a search for S3. And then you should see S3 Scalable Storage in the Cloud. Then on here, you're going to look up and down this list. You'll notice that I have a tremendous number, but hopefully you'll have a little bit fewer than what I have. You're looking for something like this right here. You should see one called Elastic Beanstalk dash, and then the name of the region that your bucket, or excuse me, that your Elastic Beanstalk was placed in. So like I just said, mine is US West 2. So I'm going to be looking for something like Elastic Beanstalk dash US West 2, and mine is right there. So I'm going to click on that thing, and then I'll see the name of the bucket right up here. And it might be a little bit, I'm having a tough time selecting it myself. There we go. If I just right click it, I get the full selection and I can copy it. So I'll take that back over, and for the bucket name, I'm going to paste it in like so. And then we're going to also do the bucket path. So this bucket right here, or this S3 bucket that's holding all these different files, it gets reused for all of the different Elastic Beanstalk environments that you create. So as you can see, I've got a couple of different environments that have been created over time. And so inside of here, I'm going to be looking for the folder that is essentially the name of my project. Now, when you first create your Elastic Beanstalk instance, chances are it's not going to create a folder by default automatically. That folder is only going to be created the first time that you do a deploy. So by default, the bucket path that you're supposed to use is going to be exactly equal to the app name. So you see I have app right here. I'm going to use the exact name for my bucket path. So for me, I have Docker as my app name, and I'm going to copy that right down to bucket path. Again, you might have used something like Docker React, so make sure if you have the different app name, make sure you use it in there as well. All right, so now last thing we're going to do in here for right now, remember back to the entire deployment flow that we spoke about a while ago. We had said that we wanted to make sure that anytime we deploy, or excuse me, we push our code up to a feature branch on the GitHub repository, we had said that we're going to make a pull request to merge into master. And we had said that the master branch was essentially going to be our very special branch. Anytime we merge code into master, that means it is time to deploy our application. If we just merge code or push code up to the feature branch, we don't want to deploy the app. We don't want to deploy the app using just the feature branch. The feature branch is for active development, and it might have new features that are not ready to be deployed. So the last piece of configuration that we're going to put in there for right now, we're going to say only attempt to deploy the application when the master branch gets some new code. So as the very last thing that I'll do for right now, I'll say on branch master, like so. And so as you might guess, this essentially means anytime we push code to branch master, that's the time to deploy. All right, so I think that's good for right now. Now there's going to be two other tiny pieces of configuration we have to add in, but those are going to take just a little bit of time. So let's take a quick pause right here and continue in the next section and handle those two last pieces.